Good morning. Hello, everybody. Boy, yesterday I was having tea in here with my buddy Todd, and all of a sudden I thought it was today. And so I started panicking and then realized it's still 24 hours. Today I am drinking, where is it? I don't have the bag with me. Oh, I'll show you. Different one. Drinking something called Georgian Breakfast. It's by this place called Renegade Tea. And I don't know if they still do it, but it's sort of an interesting company where you can buy a plot of their tea farm. And it's like sort of a scheme. It's not like you really own this little part of the tea farm, but you own the tea farm and you get half of that area's yield every year and you pay for shipping. And so you get an enormous amount of tea. I have like 7 of these big bags. And so Georgia, the country, it used to be where the tea came from for the USSR. So their black teas are very good. The other ones are not that good. But I just got my shipment for this year, so I'm drinking one of those, Georgian Breakfast. Hello, everybody. Hello, Garrett, Ghostis, John, Ada. Some new, of course, recognize Garrett, but some new people. Welcome. Thanks for coming. If you're new here, the way this usually works is I ramble about random things until people start asking questions, and then I'll answer them. It can be about the gear post. I've got my whole gear bag down there. It can be about pinball, just because I love talking about pinball, or really it can be about anything. I'm going to show you a cool project I'm working on that is just taking up Tom Hanks, the famous actor. Good to see you. I went to my friend's, commencement at Harvard this year, and Tom Hanks was the speaker, and it was the weirdest speech you've ever seen. It was like he was on drugs or something like that. Very, very strange. Oh, it's Adam. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I can see from the photo. Nice. Good to see you, man. All right, before we get started, ever harvest your own tea? I've forged, Yopon and Ginkgo this year. No, I haven't. There's a place in Hawaii on the Big Island, not that far from where I go a lot. And it's this sort of biologist who made this crazy tea farm. It looks totally different from every other tea farm. It's these small bushes, and he has like banana trees near them because the leaves help fertilize or something like that. And it was very interesting. The tea was like really good, but very different from other tea I'd had. And the guy wasn't really a tea guy, which was strange. He was like a botanist or something. Anyway, you can do a workshop there where you get to pick the tea, you get to pan kind of, what's it called? Not roast, but like dry it in a wok like they do Chinese style greens. And you can do all the other steps, and then you get to bring back your own tea that you made, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Oh, I forgot I can click these things. What was weird about Tom Hanks' speech? It was just like he had like 5 ideas for a speech that had nothing to do with each other. And then it was like a random sentence from each one in a row. So it was like very confusing. We're all just sort of like, is he on drugs or something like that? Oh, wow. Another superhuman alum. Wow. 2 of them. You guys coordinating or something? What's up, Yan? What's up, Cesar? Wow. Awesome. So many familiar faces. Great to see you guys. Let's see. All right. I'm going to show you guys my project. I'm going to answer all these things, but I'm going to show you this project I'm working on because it's been consuming my entire life. And I'm getting close. And maybe somebody here will know something that can help me. Okay. So store all my tea in these things, right? Metal tea tin. It's got like the double thing. Got the tea, right? And what I used to do is I would make these magnetic tea labels. So you can see, you really can't see it that well. Anyway, printed on a label printer. I got these magnet strips, stick it on there. Easy. But what happens is if I get a small bag of tea, like, see, here's one from my good friend at Tap Twice Tea. Actually, hold on. Sorry, another tangent. If you're in San Francisco, I'm going to be there December 10th at Dandelion Chocolate Factory to help my buddy Jody Beavers, who owns Tap Twice Tea. So I'm going to be serving tea there. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing, but he's selling tea there, and I'm going to be helping. I'm friends with the people that have the chocolate place too. So if you want to drop by, have some tea, come on by. All right. Anyway, if I get one of those small bags, I'm too lazy to make this label. And so what happens is, I guess you can't see it, but over here, you can see one of them. I've got tons of bags of tea over there, too many. For years, I've wanted to do an e-ink solution. And so I thought, I'm just going to buy these labels and I'm going to figure it out. There's the rabbit hole. So here's what I've got. You can see the e-ink thing in the back here, the white part. I 3D printed a new front for it. So I take them apart. I put this new front so it can be all black. God, I really should set this thing up so it would focus properly. And I can change these remotely from my computer. And so for my tea shelf, which is over there, I think I have a picture of it, or in the last tea time, you can see it. Goes on, and then I can just change, say, oh, this is the one in this tea tin, this is the one in this tea tin. I was done. I made software where I could click, I could type it up, all that stuff. And then I thought, what if I take a tea out, or I take two teas out and I swap them? I'll never know. So I thought I need to do NFC tags for this. So have a little NFC tag on the bottom. And then I designed this thing. This one's got a screw in it right now. I'll take it out. Where it kind of goes on the shelf, it would be horizontal like this. Sorry, I'm not showing this very well. And the tea tin goes here. It's got a cavity in the bottom to hold the reader. So close to having it working. I have these old NFC tags from 5 years ago that work perfectly. And then I've bought 5 different kinds, and none of them work on it. It's driving me bananas. Anyway, I don't think that was as interesting as I thought it was going to be, but that's what's been taking up my life recently. All right, I'm going to start answering questions. Let's see. I guess we're still talking about home automation, which is great because I love talking about home automation. Do you still use light switches? If yes, which ones? You previously mentioned heated marble floor for your bathroom. Can you please send the reference? Yes, I don't use light switches. I think that if you are using light switches in your house, then your home automation is not very good. My wife would probably disagree. I think she doesn't like the home automation as much as I do. There was a time when she felt the house was not light enough at night, and so she threatened to wear a headlamp around all the time if I didn't fix it. So anyway. But that said, I don't use light switches. I use motion detectors. The best ones are these millimeter wave ones. They're these little, they're called in-ceiling millimeter wave sensors. They're tiny. I just put one up the other day. They're probably about this big. And you can put them in walls or ceilings. And what I like is they're totally flush mount. You hardwire them to an outlet nearby through the wall. And just this little amount of moving. Like if I'm sitting here and I just kind of do one of these little moves, that's enough to trigger it. So I had one in my office next to my chair, and I'm often like reading or typing. I had it with a 30-second timeout, and I never saw the lights turn off, which is pretty crazy. So I don't use light switches. For the heated marble floor, what you do is you just get one of those on Amazon. You can get these heated underfloor mats. So it's this heating element that's sort of like this, and then it's on this netting so that it stays in the right configuration. If you email me, I'll show you the right one, but there's one particular heater or heating control that has a relay input for vacation mode. And so you can basically set 2 temperatures. And if you have a remote relay, you can switch between them. So I would have one that was like 70 degrees, which, would basically keep it about the normal temperature. And then I have one that's like 85 degrees and you could flip it back and forth. I actually just did it in the steam room building and just set that up the other day. Another one from Tutto Bene. Is that Italian? To automate the cleaning of your home, what tools, tips do you use? Where can we buy your toilet case from Swiss Air? Already looked on eBay. This is the problem. Sometimes when I find really good gear, I'll show you. Let me show you what he's talking about. I think I have it here with me. Yep. So this is from Swiss Air. I was going through Swiss Air, and I'll show you the inside. see, it's kind of like a netting thing. I was in Swiss Air, and as I walked through the business class leaving, I saw these things, and I thought, this is the perfect size. So I took one, and then I found a lot of like 5 or 6 of them on eBay, and I bought those. So I don't know where you can get them. You maybe can't. But what I would do is I would just search eBay for like amenity toiletry kit, airline toiletry kit, because it's really, I like that one a lot, but it's really more about the size. You know, all the ones you buy that are not for airplanes are huge. It's like, I don't know if people are putting shampoo in these things or what. But anyway, that's what I would do. Automate cleaning. I have a robot vacuum. Honestly, I don't use it that much. Truth is, my wife does most of the cleaning, so I don't really have to do too much. Do we have anything else? Not really. Okay. What? It's all about home automation. Last time, nobody wanted to talk about home automation, and that was the topic. All right. Any recent updates with your home automation? I mean, so many. So many. For cameras, I use Rayo-Link cameras. Don't hack me. And I use something called Frigate to do the person detection and motion detection. I have gotten more of those, and I've gotten more high-res ones. They work great. Actually, I had some that weren't working, and it turns out they were like the ones I had from 10 years ago that I think too much water had gotten them or something. What have I been doing with my home automation updates recently? Boy, I just redid a bunch of stuff. What was it? Can't remember. I did one thing that I can't ever get presence detection very good. So the house needs to know who's here. I wanted to know whether my wife and I are in the house or if we're in Vegas to do various things. And so I did something where basically I track every Bluetooth thing we carry, like tiles and stuff like that, watches, phones, to try to like smartly figure out who's here and who's not. That's something I did recently. God, I just did another big one. I can't remember what it was though. Maybe I'll think of it later. All right. Have you done anything with GPT and Home Assistant? No. And I'm excited about it. I think GPT is incredible for input. I think it's better for input than output. So I think the idea of being able to say like, hey house, turn on the lights in the tea room until for 2 hours, like that's going to be great. And Google can't do that right now. I've seen prototypes of people doing it, but I have so many other projects that I'm like, this is going to be like so easy in a few months. I'm just going to wait for them to do it. One cool thing I did do though with GPT recently is, so for this whole tea inventory system I was talking about, it also, of course, in a database, it has all of my teas. And so I want to make a customized tea menu for anybody who comes to visit. And I wanted to have tasting notes, but I don't want to have to enter them in because a lot of times I get the tea first and I haven't tasted it yet. And so I used GPT to figure out the tasting notes, and it's been shockingly accurate, like 90% accurate, maybe, like close enough that I think for the average guest who doesn't know what these teas are, it would help them choose which tea they wanted in like a meaningful way. So yeah, I don't use GPT for a lot. I use it sometimes for making like boilerplate code. And then I used it for that, which felt like a good use, but yeah, that's about it. Let's see. Any chance we get a little home automation tour sometimes? Yeah, I'll tell you honestly why I don't do it is I just don't want any psychos to know where I live. And I don't know. I just wonder if I did a video of my whole house, if somebody could figure out where I live. I'm not that famous. It probably doesn't really matter, but that's what's stopping me from doing it. I would like to do a home gear post because the gear post is a lot of people's favorite post every year. And I think these days it's sort of hit almost like a steady state, right? Like I change a few things every year, but most of the things I have in my gear post are so good that I may never replace them or, may replace them every 5-6 years or something. But there's actually a lot of really cool home gear out there that I haven't talked about. So I might do that at some point. Let's see. was thinking more about going on a cruise, but I was also learning more about the climate impact and possible poor air quality on board. Do you worry about those? Ever do inclusive resorts instead? Good question. So I once had a blog post I was going to write, which is cruises aren't actually bad for the environment. And I did the research and I was wrong. They are bad for the environment. And that's the truth. They're not as bad as you can come up with stats that make them look horrifically bad. And there are some very genuine, very valid criticisms of cruises in things that I think they should switch. I think when you consider that it's lodging, it's basically your entire environmental footprint for a week or however long you're on it, it ends up being like 2 to 3 times, I think it was 3 times what normal life is. I suspect it's actually a little bit better than that because, it's like none of you're not getting like food delivery, you're not driving to get food. So I think there's like a little bit of, it's still 2.5 minimum worse. The way I think about it, and it's very self-serving, so you don't have to also think this way, but the way I think about it is everything we do, all the time we're doing things that are negative for the environment. So we are making that decision all the time, right? If when you go on a cruise, I think it's good enough that whatever tiny negligible impact you're doing is worth it. Feels right to me. I could also see somebody also not feeling that way, which I think is valid. So I don't know. Also, maybe I'm just justifying because I love cruises. The good news is that a lot of them are switching to liquid natural gas, which is way, 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 way better. I think if I did the blog post on that impact versus, because the main problem is they use what's called bunker fuel, which is really, really, it's like the worst burning fuel ever. A lot of them are switching to liquid natural gas, which is a lot better. If you want to go on one of those cruises, generally the ones to Alaska, I think, are forced to use it. And I think a lot of Europe are forced to use it. So if that's a priority for you and you want to kind of compromise, I think that would be a good choice. I think the air quality on board is really good. I've never had an issue with that. They have really good filtration, ventilation, all that. If you really are concerned, get a balcony room and just crack the door all the time. That's what I do a lot of the time. And then you have just incredible air quality. I mean, it's just, fresh sea air coming through your place the whole time. So, truth is that there's a compromise there. And I don't know, you have to make the decision for yourself, I guess. Any life extension practices, food, products, plans? I used to be more into this than I am now, I think. Here's how I think about it in general. I think, so for one, I'm signed up with Cryogenics Institute. When I die, I will be frozen, hopefully, and maybe I'll come back. I think it's like a 5% chance of actually working, but 5% chance of infinity is pretty good. So I take it. My belief is that the basics, like good sleep, low stress, healthy lifestyle, like working out and good food, connections with people, are what matter the most in terms of longevity, but not just living a long time, but living a good life and being healthy and enjoying that time. So I think my priority is maybe more on those things. So those are things I do. I spend a lot of time with my friends. I sleep great. I work out. I'm not stressed. I have like zero stress. So that's sort of what I do. I'm not as, I also eat Chipotle basically every day, pretty healthy. And I also do intermittent fasting. I don't know if that actually helps or not, but I think it's convenient, so I do it. So it's something I'm less into other than just living a healthy, enjoyable life. By the way, how annoying is this StreamYard logo? I stopped paying the $20 a month because I do one of these things every 3 or 4 months, but I don't like looking at that logo. All right. Oh yeah, he's talking about figuring out my house. Yeah, thanks. I know. All right. Yan, who are the most interesting people you're inspired by these days and why? Looking to expand my circle of influence. Good question. Let me see. So this will be controversial. I find that I always try to listen to things or read things that are against my beliefs to see if there's at the very least understand the other side. So for example, not crazy about Elon Musk. I watch some of his stuff sometimes, but I've been watching more conservative voices, and I'm not a big politics guy. I think way before it was popular to say this, I thought the woke stuff was totally insane, and so I think that's sort of how I got hooked into this. So this guy Vivek Ramaswamy, he's running for Republican candidate, zero chance of winning, but sort of refreshing to hear him talk about problems from the other side a little bit. I like basically any Lex Friedman interview. I think he's a really good interviewer, and he has a very good variety of people. What am I inspired by? This is a super random one. There's a guy on the internet called Ben Eater who shows how to make circuits by he built not a CPU. He built a computer like on a breadboard that could take input and output. I think he even did like video output. And he really does a great job of breaking down these like really difficult to understand things and make them simple. So I really like that. I read a lot of books recently, a lot of really good books recently. I read one called Die with Zero by Dan Parkins, which I think impacted me more than any book has in the past few years. That was a really good one. I read Lynn Alden's book about money. I thought that was good. At the end, it's sort of this weird Bitcoin shill, but until that, it's excellent. So I don't know, there's some random ideas. Let's see. What are some of your most used apps on your Galaxy Fold? Where is it? Here it is. Every time I choose a color, I feel like I chose the color they meant for girls to have. So I've got like baby blue here. My last one was gold, but it was really kind of pink. Look at that fold action. Who wouldn't want a foldy phone, huh? What do I use? Well, I'll tell you things that are fold specific. Kindle is just unbelievable on this thing. Let me show you. Hold on, it's so dark. Well, I've got the Kindle so dark because I was reading at night. Anyway, Kindle's great on it. What else do I use? I don't think I use anything that great. I use Bitwarden, best password manager. I use f-stop, good photo viewer program. I use something called Hermit Apps for Twitter and Reddit, so I don't have to use the real ones. Oh, here's a good one. Beeper. I don't know if anybody here uses Beeper. So what Beeper does is you can combine all of your chat programs into one program. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I didn't do it for a while because certain apps like Signal and WhatsApp are secure, but if you use Beeper on their server, it's getting decoded for a second and re-encoded to you, which I didn't like. Now they make it so you can run that little repeater thing on your own server. Pretty cool. So Beeper is one of my favorite programs these days. Home Assistant, I use something called Standard Notes, the best note-taking app. I love it so much. Sort of like if you read the gear post this year, certain gear items I think are like perfect now. Like the shirt, it's like I would like a pocket, but other than that, it's basically perfect. Standard Notes is one of those apps that's perfect. Bitwarden is also perfect. That's kind of it for stuff on my front page. So those are probably the ones I use the most. Home Assistant, I don't know if I mentioned that. Yeah, and then just like normal stuff like Hacker News. Well, I guess that's part of Hermit Apps, my bank program. Yeah, that's about it. Let me see how many. Ooh, a lot of them. Hey, thanks so much, guys. A lot of good things here. What's up, Sean? How's it going? Wonder if you still bother collecting points and miles these days. If so, what credit cards are favorites? I do it a little bit. I find that I just don't. Basically, I value the points at like 1.5 cents per point, and a lot of times it's cheaper just to buy a flight because I like flight deals and stuff like that. So I had some pretty crucial ones where I got back and forth from Japan last year when it was otherwise going to be very expensive. So that those really came in handy. Chase banned me. I can't get any Chase bank account or credit card for no reason I can find out. And then recently there was like a New York Times article where apparently this is happening to like thousands and thousands of people. I thought it was the only one. I think it's because I sent a lot of wires to like Kazakhstan and Russia that looked suspicious. And then they called me and asked about it. And I was annoyed they were asking. So probably they didn't like my answers. Anyway, so what cards do I have? I like the City Prestige. I think it's pretty easy to get your value out of that one. I like Capital One Venture X, also very easy to get your value out of that one. Both of those have the lounge, what's it called? Priority Pass lounge access that you can go to restaurants, which are kind of amazing. It's like $28 credit per person. You go with another person, $56 for an airport place, pretty good. In Boston, there's 2 places you can get lobster rolls, which if you read about my cruising, all I care about is eating lobster. And then, I had another juicy thing for these. Oh, yeah, another one. If you get the combo of the 2 Marriott cards, 2 of the Marriott cards, I have the 2 from Amex because I can't get the Chase ones. You get platinum status on Marriott, and you also get a ton of points. And the status is incredible. You can basically check in at any time. So I usually check in like 9 a.m. And then you get guaranteed checkout at 4 p.m. the next day. You get free breakfast in a lot of cases. You get suite upgrades almost all the time, which I'd never stayed in a suite before. Well, I guess maybe once or twice, but rarely. So for us, that's been a really, really good value. And, my wife got it too. So between the 2 of us, we have like a lot of like free hotel. Oh, and they each give you a certificate for a free hotel room every year. And so one of them gives you an 85,000 point room, which is enormous. And the annual fee is, I forget, when you deduct all the value, you get a couple $100. We stayed at the Mitsui in Kyoto, which the cheapest room there was like $1,200. And then we got upgraded to a $3,000 suite, got in at 9 a.m., left at 4 p.m. the next day. Pretty good value for, an annual fee. Anyway. I'm like way behind on these questions. Keep them coming. I'm sorry. I'm way behind. I'll try to give shorter answers. Why did they stop making that waterproof shell you loved? Apparently something in the shake dry material had a chemical that was affecting either the environment or the workers. So they stopped making it. It's too bad because it was great. But actually this other one I've got, let me show you guys. So I did a different photo this year for the Gear Post where things aren't necessarily in scale because I felt like it was hard to see the details sometimes. But let me just show you how small this thing is. I think I've got it here. Here it is. So this is my rain shell. I don't know if you really can tell how tiny that is. Like, here's my tea thing. It's like, pretty small. And, I don't even have this thing on. You can kind of cinch it somehow. I think I'm not even doing it the right way, but you can make it smaller. Maybe that's to clip it to something. This one works great and very small. Just as good as the other one, honestly, and it's lighter, so maybe better. The only thing I don't love is that the hood on this one, and this may have been true with the other one too, if you move your head, the hood kind of stays the same. So I want to get a little hair clip and just clip it to my hair so it will move. I pinched it to test it and it worked. All right. Let's see. What's your latest investing approach? Still long ETH, long Ray Dalio, all weather? Yep. So yeah, I haven't written any updates because I sort of think that good investing is like finding a strategy that, like any strategy that you're going to come up with that's going to be successful is probably going to be a long-term strategy. And so, yeah, I wish I had more updates. I love ETH. I mean, it's, I think it's still just the biggest asymmetric risk reward there is. I loved it when it was 800, 900 bucks. I didn't care because it's like, well, to me, it's worth so much more in terms of the technology, the potential impact it has. And a lot of that stuff's coming to fruition, right? It's like a lot of layer 2 stuff is happening now, which I'm not involved in, but I read enough about it to sort of understand that it's a big deal. And I think whatever that turns into next is going to be a big deal because essentially, if you don't know, layer 2s is a layer above Ethereum that has all the security of Ethereum. This is really like a simplified version. It's not 100% accurate, but borrows the security of Ethereum, can go faster and with like minuscule fees. And the thing about fees, it's not so much that it matters if it costs you a penny or a dollar to send a large amount of money. It's more that when gas is cheap, it unlocks a whole level of applications that are doing a lot more without, but still being affordable. The ETFs are coming out probably first quarter. 2024. So, that's somewhat priced in now, obviously, but yeah, super exciting. All weather portfolio, I still just do the same thing. For me, it's the way I think about it is it's a place to park money, not worry about it, let it grow above inflation, and just kind of never being out. I feel like I'm taking enough risk on ETH. I guess I don't really have any other really significant risky investments, but enough risk on ETH, which is most of my money, that I'm happy to play it safe on the other stuff. I did my first cruise earlier this year, and it was really way better than I expected. Exactly. Great food, great people, and it was just so awesome to watch the sunset while cruising the open seas. Totally. I think. Sorry, I didn't answer all of Adam's questions, but he asked if I ever did all-inclusive resorts, and maybe I would love them because have I ever done one? I don't think I've ever done one. To me, even though it on paper seems the same, it seems so different to me. Like a lot of the cruise is just being out on the ocean and just like seeing like the clouds and the sunsets and just the waves. There's something about that perspective that is meaningful. There's also something about sort of being trapped almost. I mean, you don't feel trapped, but you're sort of with this group of people, especially on these longer cruises, that you're going to kind of get to know a few people. I don't know. I'm glad you liked it. I think it's generally very surprising to people how awesome cruises are. Glad to hear your diet's still going well. Thank you. Look, all right, first of all, I should be clear. It's not like it used to be. I just went on 2 months of cruises in a row. My first cruise, I went ham. Here's the thing. Celebrity Cruises has the best bread. I eat no bread in my normal life, but Celebrity makes bread on board. I guess most cruise ships do, but theirs is so good. My wife doesn't like bread. We went on a ship. She ate like 11 pieces of baguette one night because it's just so good. It's very fluffy, great crisp. Anyway, ate a lot of bread. And then ate too many desserts. It's like there's 2 of them. I'm like, I don't know. They change the thing they change the menu every single day. This might be my last chance to try the strudel. Let me just try it. Ate too much. Did every workout though, which is nice. That's one of the things I like about cruising is that it's so easy to do the workouts. Next cruise, toned it back a little bit. Not enough. I don't do well with gray areas. I said, I'm going to eat a little healthier. I did, but not to where it should be. They had baklava one day. It's a giant thing of baklava. I love baklava. I got ice cream, baklava. Too much. So then the last cruise I did was 27 days. I thought I got to have some rules. So I had a rule of maximum 1 bread and 1 dessert per day. And I stuck to that perfectly. Did all the workouts. I felt good on that one. And so that's my new, and so I weighed myself before and after the cruises. I gained weight on the first cruise. Second one, I'm not sure. I think I forgot to weigh between. And third one, I didn't gain weight, or I gained like a pound, which I think is just from the salt. Anyway, I don't know how much you want to hear about my cruise diet, but I got off track. Now I'm in Vegas. I'm back. I wish a Cava would come to Vegas. I don't know if you guys have been to Cava. Cava is like Chipotle, but better. It's so good. I was just in Austin last week. I think I ate either 2 or 3, maybe just 2 Cavas. So good. Workout routine. In 2013, a guy named Dick Talons, who is a trainer, he trained like Miss America. He trains athletes, trains schlubby people like me. He gave me a workout routine, and I just do the same one. It's just 3 days. Each workout's about a half hour. It's heavy lifts with decent rest periods, like 2 to 3 minute rest periods in between them. And what I find is that, so I hate working out. I just don't like it. I find that this is one that I can do and I don't dread it, and it gets me results. So it's good enough for me. Definitely not the ideal one, but he made it for me because I told him, like, look, this is what I'm really realistically going to do. Sorry, my tea's getting cold. Got a little pour. Ooh. Turn it off. That's how little tea I'm drinking. I always have this idea that like I drink tea every morning. I might as well do these little podcast things. And then I talk so much, I'm used to being with somebody else where you talk like half the time. So I talk so much, I never get to drink my tea. Anyway, that's my workout routine. I've fallen off of it mostly at home because I'm doing so many projects these days that I'm just like physically exhausted. So for example, A buddy gave me his projector, which was brighter than mine, but it has to be closer to the screen. And so I had to go up in the attic and run wires through the rafters. And basically, I had to be in like this half squat position the whole time while I'm waiting for my friend Todd to like feed the wire to me. Exhausting. So I don't know if I can still feel it now, but like 2 days later, I could feel it. So it's very easy for me to be like, look, I'm already exhausted. That was like a workout. I'm not going to do it. I think a lot of times it's justified. I think other times it's not so justified. But on the cruise ship, I hit every workout perfectly, except when I got the worst sunburn of my entire life, which is a whole other story. So then I come home and I'm back on and it feels great. Oh, I'm giving way too long answers today, right? I gotta tighten this up. Boy. Okay. Any recommendations for reducing stress levels? Yeah. I think stress is two parts. I think for one, you need to create an environment that is conducive to not being stressed. So a lot of that is scheduling, right? Like I've coached a ton of people, and the people who are the least stressed, here's one of my, have I written a blog post about this? I should if I haven't. Here's the thing. Let's say you have an 8-hour workday. Let's say you work for yourself, so you've got a lot of autonomy. You've got an 8-hour workday. You should schedule 5 to 6 hours of work per day and really not work the other hours. And here's why. If you schedule 8 hours of work per day, every once in a while, something is going to come up where you need to do a couple extra hours of work. If you have that slack, this doesn't affect your day at all. You're on your schedule. Everything's good. You get it done. You look like a superhuman because it's like, wow, this guy gets a lot of stuff done. First of all, you're not getting 8 hours of quality work done anyway, unless there's like a crisis. So you do your 5 or 6 hours of work. If you need it, like an emergency, you do another 2 or 3, and then you can cover it, right? We had a customer service. Look, I work less than 5 to 6 hours a day. There are days I work like 12. There's days I work like 0, basically. We had a customer service emergency come up in cruise sheet. I was able to devote full time to it, especially with my team. Obviously, it was mostly them, really, but we all worked together and we got it done. But it's because we have Slack. Even my employee does customer service. I try to make sure she has Slack. I try to not give her things to do so that if somebody has a big issue, she has the time to do it. So that's one thing. You can set good sleep times. You can take TVs out of your bedroom. You can, I think, if you eat healthy food, you just operate better. I built a steam room, which is obviously an extreme luxury, but wasn't that expensive because I did it myself. I go there every night, and literally my buddy Todd was just here for the past few days. Every day we're sitting in there like thinking like, oh my God, this is the greatest luxury on earth. We do steam, then we jump in the swimming pool, which is really cold, and we go back. And you come back into the house, you feel like a new person. So that's one thing, your environment. Another part of your environment, or maybe a separate category, is the people you're around. I have so many great people in my life. I'm married. I've got a family, not kids, but I'm very close with my extended family, my close family. And this is something, it can't just be you. You have to choose the people, or you have to figure out relationships with people. I get no stress from any of these people. It's only positive. So right now my wife's out of town, but when she's here, just as stress-free as when she's not here. We argue maybe once every 6 months, maybe something like that, right? And when we do, we resolve things peacefully. We add a lot to each other's lives. We try to do nice things for each other. I was just traveling with some family recently. It's like you hear people say, I was with my family for Thanksgiving. You see people say, oh, I can only handle a couple days. Put in the time and build good relationships with your family. Like you can't choose them, but you can choose how you engage with them, and you can be the one putting in the effort to have good relationships. Now I have it easy. It's easier for me to say because my family's amazing, but it's a stress-free situation. So I think the people matter a lot. Your friends, you can choose 100%. You see people who have these friends where it's like, it's always drama. There's like competitiveness that's unnecessary. There's healthy competition, but then there's also environments where people are cutting each other down. So that's another one. But maybe the biggest I just said I was going to give short answers. Here we go again. But this is an important one. I think this is a good one. Great question. So the last thing is, I think 80% of it, 70% of it is how you deal with things internally. I think, I'm not trying to brag, but I think in a lot of situations, I could go through a similar situation as somebody else and feel zero stress, and the other person would feel a lot of stress. My wife's a good example. And this is not any fault of her own. Certain things from her. She grew up in poverty. She had a tough childhood. Incredibly rose out of it, and is a super strong person. But I think there is some sort of latent panic there, where things feel like if something goes wrong, there's this feeling like this could spiral. But she's also worked on it, and now I think is 10 times better than when we first met. So I would spend a lot of time working on your sort of internal mindset and how you deal with stuff. I think a good book for this is one of my favorite books. What is it called? It's like A Guide to the Good Life, something Stoic Joy by William something. It's probably enough that you can find it. All right, I'm going to keep moving on because I'm 20 minutes behind in questions. But great question. I might write a blog post about that. All right. Current favorite podcast. I don't listen to podcasts much. I only listen to them when I drive. The only time I realistically, this is another thing. Live in a good city. Sorry, I'm going back to the other one. Live in a good city. In Vegas, best city in the world. There's no stress, except during F1. That was crazy. But most of the year, no stress. You can drive anywhere you want. Everything's easy. Everything's reasonably priced. You can park. Beautiful sun all the time. I don't know how much you can see it, but it's very, it's the winter. It's a beautiful sunny day. Very stress-free. You live in San Francisco or LA with that traffic, New York, a lot of good things to be said for these cities. I don't hate them. In some ways, maybe I do, but it's so stressful being in them. It's like, why not live in a place where there's no stress? I could even see the argument, for different people, live somewhere in like middle of rural nowhere. I could see that being great. Anyway. Okay. Sorry. Going back on. Current favorite podcast. I only listen to podcasts when I drive. There's no long drives in Vegas because you can just live in the middle of everything. There's no traffic. The one exception is when I drive to skiing. It's about an hour from my house, and I often go solo, just get a few runs in during the day. And so I'll often listen to a podcast each way. My favorite podcast is Bankless. I only listen once per week. Maximum. I like the roll up, just kind of keeps you informed. But I have to say, I've also listened to random ones that didn't sound interesting, and I've learned stuff. So I like them. I think I've said this before, but a friend and I were talking about podcasts, and I mentioned Bankless. She's like, "Oh, it's really good, but they're just a little breathless." And it's all I can think about when I listen to them, because they're just like, Ethereum, it's so great. Anyway. All right, let's see. Nice compliment from Cesar. Thank you. Can attest you're a well-balanced, peaceful person. Great listener. Keep it up. Thank you, Cesar. He came to, it's okay to say this, right? Yeah, his picture's there. He came to one of Superhuman events. Incredible guy also, by the way. Anyway, I put that up because there's nothing where you can be a worse listener than being on the podcast where you're just a monologue. So thanks. Have you met recently with Noah Kagan? Yeah, saw him last week, and he's coming to Vegas to visit and do some podcasts in a couple weeks, I think. Somewhere soon. I love Noah. Noah's one of my favorite people. One of the people, I'll tell you, this is how we became friends. We were introduced through a mutual friend, a guy named Luke Murray. And what happened? We were both in Austin at the same time. We met, we hung out, and then he's like, "Yeah, by the way, I'm moving to SF." I'm like, "Oh, well, that's too bad. Nice to meet you." And then I moved to SF, and I was like, "Oh, who do I know there?" And it's Noah. I'm like, "Oh, hey, Noah, I'm like moving there." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm about to leave." But we hung out once, I think, maybe twice. And then I went to I think it was like a Tucker Max thing in Austin, and he was there, and we were hanging out, and I told him, I literally said, "I feel like you're the kind of person that if we spent more time together, we would probably be great friends." And he's like, "I've always thought the same thing too." And so we just made an effort to hang out, and now we've become really good friends. It was just at his place. We did an awesome sauna together, went in his cold plunge pool. I used to hate cold water, by the way. And then I jumped in the water in Greenland, and now I love cold water. It's the weirdest thing. He's also into tea. This is how you know someone's into tea. He has a really nice tea set downstairs in his kitchen, and then he has another one in his studio. I respect anybody who has 2 tea setups. That's, yeah. He only drinks 1 tea basically. I don't have any within reach. It's a really good tea called Wu Yi Black from Old Ways Tea. He was like semi into tea until that, and then he got really into tea. Love Noah. He's got a book coming out. Couldn't say enough good things about him. The dude really cares. He's so proud of this book coming out. I think he's actually looking for people to pre-read it. So that's kind of an opportunity. You should follow him and do it. Okay. Let's see. I'm just going to, yeah. They're funny. My brother just sent me a text referencing Die with Zero like 5 minutes ago. Such a great eye-opening book. Such a great book, guys. I think it's actually, I mean, I guess by definition, a book that impacts me is against how I traditionally think. I had just written a blog post called Income is Not for Spending. And I literally just read, and I think it's a good post. It's like a big, long one, real juicy. It's a good one. And then I read Die with Zero, and I was like, I think I might need to update my thinking on this before I post it. That's why I didn't post it. Die with Zero, I hate the title. It's a title where I think it's so easy to dismiss, where it's like, yeah, Die with Zero, okay, that's not what I'm doing. I'm saving money. I'm living off the interest. I'm not doing it. But it's such a well thought out, well-written book, handles all the objections well, reframes how you think about money. It's the first book that I've like been proactively recommending to like everybody, every friend I have tea with. I'm like, you got to read this book. It changed my life. And it has made concrete impact. I've changed actions because of it. And other people have too. So you got to read that book. I read like 7 books in the last cruise. So I might do a little book report blog post or something. Okay. Roman, hey man, so many familiar faces. Good to see you, Roman. Glad you're here too. Maybe Friday's better than Sunday. Do people, I asked last time on a Sunday, which is better. And of course, everybody said Sunday because they were the ones who showed up on a Sunday. Do you guys think Friday's better? Let me know. Yes, I still recommend buying in Vegas. It's not as crazy as it was when I first bought here, right? Like my first condo was like 50K or something, right? It was like, it's not as that crazy, but also the city is a lot better at that point. Like the city, here's the thing about Vegas. I don't think there's any other city of this size in the US that has only amazing things happening and is getting better. SF, it's recovering somewhat, but it's just like, it's so rough there. It's like New York, like I think there are structural problems with almost every other city. And I'm sure there's a lot of hidden gems out there too. Like St. Louis, Missouri may be incredible, right? So there's stuff that's not on my radar, I'm sure. But there's this excitement in Vegas because only good things are happening in Vegas. And it feels like this growth is sustainable because it all happens in this tourist corridor that benefits everybody who lives here and doesn't negatively impact. So the prices aren't quite as amazing as they used to be, but I think relative to anywhere else, I don't know. I would research if people thought there were other places that could really hold a candle to Vegas. I don't think there are. I think it's the best. Any plans for Superhuman live event? Yes, I desperately want to do them. They're so much fun. A bunch of people on this thing here have been to them, and they could probably say how fun they are. It's actually one of my favorite ways of using time. Maybe this spring or summer. The problem is there's so many big events in Vegas right now. It's hard to get the hotel room. I don't want to raise the price. It's the hotel room I get is this huge suite that's just, in my mind, perfect for it. It's a nice big area. You're looking out in the desert. Huge couch that it's like an L, so I can see everybody well. And then there's like little areas where people can break off and kind of chat amongst themselves. But it's been so expensive because of F1, because of Super Bowl, that I haven't been able to find a weekend where like it's not going to take up like 50-something% of the money that I charge, which I guess I could still do, but it's not like I'm making a ton of money off the thing anyway. So I don't know. I want to do a new one. I've got to figure something out. Okay. Are you interested in Apple's Vision Pro or the future of VR in general? Look, I have a huge bias against Apple. Other than the iPod Nano, which was like the thing this big, which I thought was really cool, I don't think they've ever made a product that I actually thought was good. At least not since the early days. I had early Macintosh that seemed good. So the Apple one I'm not interested in. The Quest 3 I'm interested in. I guess the thing is that it's so good for games that if I played any games, I would have a Quest 3. I love it. But what I found is that now that COVID's over, I just don't play games. Population 1 is such a fun game, but really I'd rather just do like house projects. I'm just so into house projects right now, or travel or something. So yeah, I haven't been doing a ton. The Vision Pro, I think it's so stupid. I just think, I mean, aspects of it are cool. The quality of the screen looks amazing. This is the thing with Apple products. They'll have a few elements of it that are good, and the rest is just like so stupid. Sorry, I'm not going to rant about Apple. I'm going to move on. Thanks so much for the recommendation of woolen print shirts. They're so good, right? Several now really like them. I do too. I tried their underwear a long time ago when I only wore briefs, and I didn't like them because it's just they weren't briefs. But the founder just reached out to me, or actually I asked him about the pockets, and he wrote back asking if I wanted anything new. And I said, hey, I got to try the underwear again. So they might make it to next year. It's my buddy Christoph. If you're still on, what's up, Christoph? Was just talking about you with TI. And he said you might be coming to Vegas soon. So yeah, plenty of glorified hot water for you, bro. And maybe we'll play poker. So Christoph is one of my good friends. We met in the pickup days. The very first day when I went to Chicago to meet all the Real Social Dynamics guys. Was Mystery there? I can't remember. He must have been there too. I can't remember. Anyway, when I met all those guys, I was very fortunate to fall in with Christoph, who was definitely way ahead of me in that process. He lived in San Francisco, or maybe still kind of does, when I lived there. And when all my friends and I were learning poker, Christoph was the other one that took it really seriously like me. And so he and I would go play poker like several times a week. We talk about all the hands and really grew a lot because he was like the only other person who kind of learned with me, so we could really discuss the hands and be in the same place. So, yeah, man, would be great to see you, Christoph. Is your virtual pinball table back up? You inspired me to get to Pinball Museum, where it was a blast. Been playing a bunch on Switch. Found it pretty good considering virtual table. Great. Oh, talk about pinball, finally. I would have answered the other questions so much quicker if I knew we were getting to pinball. It's not back up. Here's why. I have to rebuild it, which is it's a lot of work because I did it about a year ago. It took me a whole month. I have a lot of other projects. But I want to use a CNC machine. There's a tech shop sort of thing called Sin Shop in Vegas that looks incredible, $50 a month. So I want to do it there. I'm a little bit nervous to use the CNC because it's just super new and I haven't done it before. My friend Brian Sharp is really good at that. He's made a lot of stuff with CNC, so he gave me a really helpful tutorial. But I've just had like so many other projects that no day have I woken up and I'm like, all right, today's gonna be the day. I also bought 4 real pinball machines, so I've got 4 pinball machines now that are a really good selection of sort of good examples of modern, current golden era pinball machines and then 90s golden era pinball machines. So I wouldn't say I'm like craving the virtual ones, although there are. Just yesterday, I was talking about a table called Total Nuclear Annihilation that I want to play. So anyway, you should make a virtual one though. It's really fun. I have this thing where I think I'm not that good at projects. So every time I do a big project, it's so exhausting to me because it's new that I'm like, oh, I'm never doing that again. And so I think there's some element of that, but I am going to rebuild it. Okay. Do you cruise on big boats? I think I feel claustrophobic because too many people on the boat. I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert too, in most ways. I do not all sizes of boats. I guess I've done like a tiny river boat where it's like 32 passengers and 64 staff. So I was like tiny. Up to the second biggest ship. I think now there's one bigger one. I did Wonder of the Seas. The thing about them is that they all have sort of the same space to person ratio roughly. So I wouldn't say anyone feels more or less claustrophobic. I'd also say that this is a common concern people have, and nobody actually feels claustrophobic once they're on it, because it's just huge. I mean, there's giant atriums. There's so many places where you can look out at the sea. You can go on the back deck and look out at the ocean. It's sort of the opposite of claustrophobic. I'd say maybe don't get an inside cabin. I don't really find them claustrophobic, but there is something about no windows and you're sort of rocking around that I maybe could get to somebody. Honestly, I spend a lot of time in my room. Probably 80% of waking hours I just spend in the room if I have a window or a balcony, and I just find it really peaceful. You know, the rooms are pretty nice. You've got a view of the sea, you're rocking, which is really nice. Yeah, I think you'd probably find it fine. There's also, you can often find spots on the ship that are underpopulated. If you email me and tell me which cruises you're thinking about, I could tell you certain ships. Tynan@cruisesheet.com. Usually you can find like a bar that would be very busy at night, but is empty during the day. And my friends and I will usually find one and we'll just like drink tea there all day. I don't think you'd feel claustrophobic. But feel free to email for cruise stuff and I'll help you choose one. What's up, Jay? Been great. Do I know you? I don't know. Thanks, man. Thanks for watching the videos. You know, sometimes I think I should make more videos. Yeah, I don't know. Oh boy, I'm so far behind on these. All right, I'm gonna try to skip a few. Sorry if I'm skipping your questions. All right, let's see. I'm gonna do lightning round. All right. Okay, lightning round. Sorry to hear about Chase. They suck. True. What banking institutions have you pivoted to? I'm using M1 these days. I really like it. I temporarily moved when Chase was screwing me over. I really like it. I actually moved my investments there too. May have been answered in blog post. What software stack to use for virtual pinball? VPX. There's a guy, MJRNet. I think if you search, he has a whole section on all this stuff that's going to be much better than what I can tell you. Can you talk about personality typing? I don't think it's that useful. I think it's like kind of right, not that useful. I don't know. I think that here's the big thing. I think that any effort to put yourself in a category is counterproductive, because I think that we all have different, and I guess I just said I'm an introvert a second ago, so I'm a hypocrite, and I'm a hypocrite, or I'm being hypocritical. But I think that you limit yourself when you see yourself as any category. I'm type A, I'm, ENTJ, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I'm a vegan. Like, I've just found that very often you see people that box themselves in because they call themselves something or they think of themselves as something, and then they won't do things that are outside that. So I'm not into that kind of stuff for that reason. Okay, question on the gear post from Not Too Late. Notice you don't list iMask and earplugs. I don't use iMask. I just forget to list the earplugs. I still use the same ones I used before. I think they're called laser lights. I just bought this like mega box of like 500, like literally the first year I got them. I still have most of that box, and for some weird reason, I really conserve them. Like, I'll use one pair for the entire cruise. Don't know why. Okay. Let's see. You seem like a guy who doesn't need to ever retire, but have your plans for retirement. Is your attitude YOLO, spend an hour, save? Okay, I'm gonna answer this one. This might not be a total lightning round, but I've made progress, so that's good. I'm retired, basically. Here's another, actually this feeds in. You know what I noticed? I was fast forwarding through my last video, and I noticed I'm just like this with my hands all the time. I should be a DJ. So I think being retired and not being retired, and look, this is like, I'm lucky, right? Like, through luck and skill or whatever, good choices, I've gotten to where I am, which is a great place. But what does retired even mean, right? Like, I love doing things. I'm never going to sit around and do nothing, probably. I don't need to work for money now. I can, and, if I have more money, that's good. But something I found out about myself, as I had more money or made more money, up to a certain point, there were things that I could buy with it that were valuable to me. And then at a certain point, it's like, well, I don't have room for more pinball machines. That's the most expensive thing I've kind of ever bought. That's not a car. I got deals on them anyway. But it's like, well, what am I really like? What am I going to spend money on? So I don't have to work for money. I make enough. I have enough, but I still work because I love to work. So I don't know. So yeah, I'm retired, or I'll never retire, depending on how you look at it. I think what's changed with Die with Zero is I used to think I'm only ever going to live off the interest or dividends or whatever, or some safe withdrawal rate. And then I'm going to have this big chunk of money at the end. And then I realized that I have no desire for that to go to anything. Don't have kids, probably won't have any. You know, I have nephews and nieces, but like, do I like, is giving money to them even a good thing when I'm dead? Maybe, you know, I don't know who they're going to be at that point. So in charities, it's like, well, would I give up like $10,000 now to give $100,000 to charity when I die? No, like, you know, there aren't any that I feel super aligned with. Maybe hopefully I will in the future. But so I think I'm much more in like, okay, at some point start spending some of the principal. I don't know. Read Die with Zero. It had some really good thoughts, and I basically agree with all of it. Let's see. Oh, nice. Working on implementing your 3 years of running room blog post article to eliminate job stress. That's a big one. I mean, there, you know, there's financial stress is it goes in two ways, right? It's like on one hand, you know, people think money is going to solve all of their problems. On the other hand, I think that for me, here's where the stress left. Once I got to the point where I didn't have to worry if there was enough money in my accounts to automatically pay every credit card bill in full, all financial stress was gone for me. And I was living in the RV at the time, right? So even though I'm living in a nice house or whatever, that was it for me. And, you know, I'm a pretty frugal guy. My credit card bills were like maybe 2-3K. And I had the money anyway, but it was like, there was a while where it was like, okay, do I have enough in the checking account? Do I have to like move some from somewhere? And now I don't have to worry about that. To me, that's the big break. Once you get past that, you want a financial stress. 3 years of running room is going to get you there. And that also allows you to have whatever job or career you want, which I think also helps with the stress. Looks like a lot of people like the stress thing. Okay, I'm going to write a blog post about that. If anybody can think of it, you could write me an email to remind me. I'm not trying to make you do my work, but I just don't want to like take time and add it to the notes. Looks like Fridays are good. Ooh, somebody's in a work meeting but still here. I like that. Here we go. Look at that. Nice endorsement. Thank you, Adam. Strongly recommend Superhuman events. You went to Superhuman 4.5. Planning return for the next one. Be great to see you again. I love when repeat people come. I've only had a few. No, actually, that's not true. I've had a decent amount of repeat people, but it's selfishly, it's really nice for me because, you know, sometimes I get pretty invested in people and I want to see them do well. And, you know, I try to give the best advice I can, and it seems like they're going to follow through. And then sometimes I don't hear what happens. And it's really nice when I hear from them. And in most cases, they're doing great. So I really like that. A lot of people asking about Superhuman. Thanks, guys. All right, I'm going to look and see if there's some dates I can plan. I appreciate it. Oh, this is a good one. Any plans on heading to the Sphere in Vegas? I went to the Sphere. I didn't go to the U2 concert. I went to it's called Postcards from Earth. And it's like a film / nature documentary sort of thing. And here's what I'll say about it. It's worth going. If you don't go to Vegas a lot and you're in Vegas, you should 100% see it. If you come to Vegas a few times a year, if you live here, I think, you know, it's $100. It felt, my wife goes, she's like, how much was that? I said 98. She says, I think it's worth about 58. And I think that's about right. Here's the short version is the Sphere itself is incredible. Like incredible. It's, you know, of course I've been seeing the outside of it forever now, right? You drive, you see the outside, you pull over, you show guests. It's really cool. The inside is unbelievable. The screen is so big, so high resolution, such high contrast ratio. I've never seen a screen that's even remotely close to being that good. I didn't know you could make screens that good. And certain shots, for example, there was this one shot where it's just a blue background and then there's elephants. If you watched it on a projector, you would say your brain thinks there's a blue background, there's some elephants. In the sphere, because it wraps around, you think, oh, there's a blue sky that I'm looking at, and then there's some elephants. It's almost, the closest I can explain is that it's almost like communal VR, in that it's not totally perfect. Like in VR, you aren't like, oh, am I in VR or am I in real life? But there's something eerie about it where you can forget where you are. And so it almost feels like you're in VR with other people. The film itself was okay. It had a really like sort of heavy-handed, like, oh, we're killing the environment sort of thing, which like I'm not disagreeing with. But I don't know that I need to be bludgeoned over the head with it when I'm like here to watch the sphere. And I felt like that the scenes where they were doing that were not impressive scenes. So you're like, oh, okay, now I have to watch this guy with a spacesuit talk about the Earth. All right. And then there were certain scenes in it that were magical. And then there were other scenes where you understood why they were like, oh, that seems like that would be good, but it didn't quite click. So I think it's just like, it's the first show that was in the sphere. You don't know what works yet. I left it thinking this is probably the worst. This was good. And I think it's probably the worst thing I'm ever going to see in the sphere. So sorry, there goes my lightning round. Oh, but I'm almost caught up now. That's how to sell Vegas tech shop for $50 a month. Exactly. I mean, and there's so many examples like this. That's the thing. People don't realize there's like Vegas, like I'm a value guy, right? Vegas is such high quality stuff for such good prices. Not on the strip, right? Like on the strip, you're getting kind of ripped off a lot of the time. But, skiing, look, it's not a world-class ski resort, but it's good. I'm a skier. I like skiing. It's an hour away from some people. If you live in Summerlin, it's probably half hour away, which is a good place to live. $180 for a season pass for weekdays. And I only go weekdays anyway, because I don't want the crowds. So, it's like we just ski whenever you want. Whereas even if you're in like Park City, it's probably so expensive that it's like, well, am I really going to go? There's just so many, like a lot of the food here is incredible. A lot of the shows are incredible and also very inexpensive, especially if you're local. Hockey games are, I pay $50 to $100 for good hockey seats. I go to every single game. I'll be there tomorrow. There's so many things that are great values in Vegas. And here's another thing. Look, I'm just going to rant about Vegas. Even if I could afford more, I could afford to pay more for Tech Shop than $50 a month, right? Now I might not, because I might not feel like it's a good deal. The thing is, I don't want to only be around in San Francisco. There's a similar one for $250 a month. I would rather be around people that can only afford $50 a month and people that could afford more than only people that can afford $250. And look, I like rich people. A lot of my friends are rich, but I also like poor people, and I like the varied experiences and perspectives on life, because I think I think poor people can benefit from some of the mentalities of rich people. I think rich people can benefit from some of the mentalities of poor people. Not that that's the only distinction, but for example, in San Francisco, I just felt like when I first moved there, I met people from all over different economic spectrums, work experience, right? Because if you're making a high amount of money, there's a limited amount of jobs you have. You didn't meet as varied people. Vegas, you meet, like at the hockey games, anybody can afford to go to a hockey game, and it's nice like that. I think that matters. I think that's one of the worst things about San Francisco these days. Okay. For someone who's never been on a cruise before, if you could pick one line, one route, what would you recommend? Depends what you like. So Alaska is a really easy one. Do the one-way Alaska if you can. If you can't, you can do the round trip. But one way, you get to visit just an incredible glacier, probably the best glacier, one of the best glaciers I've ever seen in my life, the Hubbard Glacier. Any one-way one will stop there. For cruise lines, we've got a few options. A big Royal Caribbean ship is the most fun. They'll have rock climbing walls. They'll have like basketball courts, indoor skydiving sometimes. I mean, they'll have so much fun stuff. If you want to do that kind of stuff, that's great. The food is okay. I mean, it's good, but it's not like some cruises have incredible food, and Royal Caribbean won't be that. It's going to be good. It's going to be like what would be a good example? For some reason, I'm thinking of like Macaroni Grill. I don't know. That might only be a Texas thing. What's a national chain that it would be? Anyway, it's good. So I like a lot of Royal Caribbean ones. They have ice skating sometimes. They have the most fun activities. So if you want to do activities, pick that. I just went on a princess cruise for the first time in 7 years, and I was blown away by how good the food was. Like stunned at how good the food was. If you went to a fancy restaurant and you got the food that they serve you, you would be happy. The steaks were good. It seemed like they were giving us jumbo scallops like 3 or 4 times a week, which is crazy. And it's all you can eat. So like I was eating a lot of scallops. They had 2 lobster nights. They still let you have unlimited lobsters, which other ones don't anymore. Incredible. But their ships are a little bit dated. They're not super nice. I mean, they're nice, but it looks like what you'd expect like a cruise ship for old people to look like. Like it's all wood and kind of cheesy decorations. Not terrible, but anyway, Celebrity, their food, they tanked their food. I heard they made it better. I'm probably going to go on one in January, so I can let you know then. But their new ships, their big ships, are more beautiful than I knew you could make a cruise ship. I went on Celebrity Beyond, which is a sister ship of a few others, and I couldn't believe how nice it was. I mean, they had like art installations you walk through. They had like a spiral room with like plants, and you're looking at the ocean. Really cool. So Celebrity, Royal Caribbean, or Princess. Norwegian's also pretty good. I'd say any of those 4 lines and try to pick one of their better ships and do a one-way Alaska. Okay. Let's see. Any East Coast cities you like at all? Yes. None that I would live in, probably. I grew up in Boston, so maybe I'm biased, but I like Boston. I feel like Boston's underrated. I think it's like New York, but not like grungy and stressful. I think it's a much more beautiful city. The museums are incredible. I mean, New York also has incredible museums. I like the food in Boston. It has a place called Bo Loco, which is like Cava and Chipotle that I really like. Also, the best ice cream maybe I've ever had, New City Micro Creamery, is super, super good. So I like Boston. Okay. Do you feel like becoming financially free has made you more relaxed and lazy at times? I'm still pretty young, but approaching being able to retire, not sure what to do next. Yeah, in some way it has. I mean, here's something I honestly think about, which is, so I read the Ray Dalio book, read the Lynn Alden book, so I'm certainly not an expert, but I've read some stuff sort of about macroeconomics and how countries work. And I believe that the fact that people like me don't have to contribute to society in a meaningful way anymore is a real problem for society. I think you could say that about a lot of tech people, that like the fact that you can retire early is really good for the individual and really maybe not good for society. And maybe there are some benefits, right? Like now I have more slack to help other people and my friends and family. I'm doing other projects which are maybe of some benefit, but like I'm a fairly creative, clever person with some technical skills, with a good network. Like if I wanted to, I could probably build something that would be of use to people, but I don't, or I don't do as much as I could. And, my impact doesn't really matter, but there's a lot of people like me. And the fact that we aren't contributing to society, I think, is a problem. So I don't think it's made me lazy. I think I've always been relaxed. I've always been relaxed because of sort of the mindset stuff I was talking about earlier, where I realized early on, so I was a professional gambler for like 7 years, lost all of my money, which was 6 figures, which was a huge amount of money for a 20-something-year-old who spent nothing, right? And as soon as I realized that I lost all that money and was okay, I basically never felt stress again in my life. Wouldn't recommend doing it, but I still remember the moment it happened. I remember having dinner with my friends that night and realizing, wow, I'm so normal that they don't realize I've lost a fortune. What was a fortune to me then? And so that really changed me. So I've always been relaxed, but I don't think I'm lazy, but I definitely don't hustle, right? Like there was a period, if you read my blog, where all I talked about was hard work. And part of that was just I was so bad at hard work that I needed to learn it. But would I be working harder right now if I was more stressed financially? Probably. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that, like, for you, you're approaching being able to retire. I think people need stuff to do, whether it's taking care of a family, whether it's interesting side projects, whether it's learning, whether it's work, whether it's your own company. I wouldn't quit into nothing necessarily. I might take like 6 months off and just see. But I don't know. I've also always just had like so many projects I want to do that for me, that's just like never been an issue. So I don't know. Let's see. Looks like good cross chat between people. I like that. I see it. Looks like potential love connection going on. Great. Do you feel like you're done buying properties? Or are there more purchases in the future? Done. So varies per person. So how many do we have? We have, I don't know if you really count the island because I go there like 2 to 3 times a year. I think in the future I might go there more once we get our stupid dock fixed. So we have Hawaii, Tokyo, Budapest, and then Vegas, I guess. So 4 places seems to be kind of the right amount. So for example, right now I've been to Tokyo recently, but I'm like sort of craving going to Hawaii in particular, and Budapest because I haven't been to either of those. I feel like the island I don't crave because I know it's cold there, so it's not that exciting. But in the spring, I have a trip planned. So for me, it feels like the right amount. It's sort of my favorite place in Asia, my favorite place in Europe. Hawaii is just sort of a magical, unique place. I guess my favorite tropical place, you could call it. And then the island, I mean, I guess it's my favorite rural place, my favorite. It's a unique place, right? So sort of it's an own category. So I'm done. I just think that the amount of time administering them, which isn't that much, versus like how much I'd actually use others, is probably maxed out. But you never know. I thought I didn't really like Europe that much, and then I found Budapest and I love it. So never know. Let's see. Whew, I got to the end of the questions. Now I can solicit more. Sweet. All right, I was a little stressed there. Let's see. Retiring early isn't necessarily contribute to society. True, but look, I contribute less, like for sure. Like personally, and maybe that's a problem I have, but I sort of suspect in general we don't. But I think also if, like, for example, if I had kids and I helped raise them, that could be an even bigger contribution. Or there's younger people in my family that I could contribute to. So it's not like going from 100 to 0. Not like I was ever at 100 anyway, but whatever, 100% of my capacity to 0. But it's like 100 to 70 probably, or 100 to 80. Have you ever been to Bali? Never been to Bali. What are the cities in Bali? Oh, that's Indonesia, Bali, Indonesia. Yeah, I've never been to Indonesia at all. Here's the thing. I'm not a big beach guy. I go to a beach, within 5 minutes, I'm ready to go. Dip in the water, worry about getting sunburned, sit in the shade, covered in sand. Salt water feels kind of weird. I'm sort of done at that point. So I'm not a big beach guy. In fact, a lot of what I like about Hilo, Hawaii, is that there's a lot of shade, and they kind of have grass in some of the beaches, which I like. And then by the time Bali got sort of popular, it just seemed like this like new age, sort of everybody on the bandwagon of like plant medicine and digital nomads. I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. Maybe I'd go there and fall in love with it, but it's also like so far away that it's like, well, given how not super interested in am I really going to go there? Maybe not. But I know a lot of people like it. One of my good friends loves it there. Actually, 3 of my good friends really like it there. So who knows? Maybe I'm missing something. I also love scuba diving, and I think there's great scuba diving there, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, maybe worth going to. Now we just get some more tea here. Actually, this tea is actually very good. First steeping, I think I might have overbrewed it. It was a little too roasty. Okay. That's pretty good. How do you like this high stakes tea pouring right near my laptop? ThinkPads are amazing, by the way. I once tipped an entire like thing this big onto the keyboard, the whole thing covered in tea. No problems. How does that work? Let's see. Recommendations on places to visit in South America. I don't love South America. I don't hate it by any means. I've only had good experiences there. But in the same way that Europe never really clicked for me until I went to Budapest, I feel like I never think about going to South America. That said, of the places I've been, I thought Chile was pretty cool. Santiago, Chile was cool. We went up. Also, we took like one of those, South American like luxury bus things for $20 up to the Atacama Desert. It was neat up there. I like that. I can't really remember what we did, but it's just sort of a different landscape. I was there with a couple friends. That was really fun. I do sometimes think about doing the Salcantay trek again in Chile. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but somewhere on my YouTube channel back when I was making videos, I made a video of me trying to do this like very aggressive hike that I was not prepared for. And I went solo instead of with a guide, and I like didn't bring gear. It was sort of a hilarious situation that I don't know, honestly, probably could have died if you really think about it. But I do sometimes think about going there and actually preparing properly. Wasn't crazy about Colombia. Where else have I been there? Paraguay was okay. Where else have I been? I guess I haven't been to that many places there. I've been more Central American places. Panama I used to really, really like. And I wonder if I would still really like it. Yeah, I haven't been in a long time. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not a big like Latin America guy. It's weird because I speak Spanish probably better than any other foreign language, but I always have a good time and never really feel drawn to go back. Yeah. Mark, good to see you too, man. Been a while. I should do more of these. I guess all my cruising kind of screwed it up. Also, it's funny. I looked at my last one to see how I had the camera set up. My head was totally shaved then. Haven't gotten a haircut since. Let's see. Buenos Aires is Tokyo, South America. That's how you get me somewhere. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, my camera died. What happened? What? Hold on. I think you can hear me, but not. What's going on? Hold on. Let me check my camera. Something weird's going on here. Yeah, it's just the home automation lights you need to check. Sorry. All right, trying to figure it out. Let's see. Start camera. Yeah, there we go. That was easier than I thought it was going to be. All right. So Buenos Aires. Wait, is it choppy? Is it messing up again? I think it's messing up. I'm just going to talk and see if it fixes itself. I think it's totally frozen, right? Is this thing still? What is going on? All right, we might just switch cameras here. Let's see. What in the world is going on with this thing? Oh boy, now I'm using the built-in camera. That works. And let me see if I can switch it back. Test. All right, there we go. I think I'm going to Buenos Aires next month. Not totally sure. We'll see. All right, I think we're working out. You wrote a pair of articles about completely re-engineering your finances a few years back. I'd be interested in a follow-up article and anything you've learned updated. Yeah, I just think there's nothing that like unusual to share yet. Basically, I do the same thing, except I don't do the margin loans anymore because it's just like the delta isn't as big. Everything else is kind of the same. I mean, again, I think it's sort of like, well, you build a system and just hopefully the system works. One thing I'm excited about is Schwab is going to have an API soon. And so I'm thinking about building some software to automatically do the balanced portfolio and to manage the margin loans by doing European box spreads, which is a whole nother topic that I don't do yet, but I might do. See, I'm just going to put this up there. I thought that was funny. Home automation lights. I like that. You mentioned the Gear Post talking about T organization, someone with a lot of team interested. So rewatch this once it's done. You watch the beginning. I showed off the thing, but basically T-tins, NFC tags, and then I'm making these sensors to measure it. And this is lightning round because I've already shown it. These e-ink tags that I've been building. But anyway, yeah, if you're interested, I could probably give you all the info and code so you could do it once I've got it figured out. Let's see. This is so funny. Have you ever watched Eurovision Song Contest? What are your thoughts? I have a friend in Tokyo who is obsessed with this. Like he was like the friend who was obsessed with Peep Show, which is one of my favorite TV shows ever. VR, which he got me into, a couple other things. So like usually his recommendations are pretty spot on. I don't get it, man. I just don't. I also don't like music. I'm not really a big music guy, so I think it's hard for me to really get into it. Yeah. Thoughts on Zurich? I've been there a bunch for layovers where you kind of have a day, and it strikes me as a really beautiful but very boring place. I'm probably wrong, but just in a very limited time I've been there, that's how I felt. It seems to me like what I should really do next time I'm there is just go up to the Alps because they're stunning. I'm thinking about getting into paragliding too, and I think then maybe I'd spend more time in those areas because the Alps are such a good spot for it. Let's see. When I was in Tokyo, it felt like one of the few places that didn't want to be like America in some way. Yes, totally true. I think maybe slightly less true these days, but still probably more true than almost anywhere else. That's cool about BA. Yeah, everybody says good things about BA, so I'm going to go. All right. All right. I think that's the end of our questions. Oh, man. Slept a lot today. Should we check my sleep score? I haven't checked it yet. Let's see what kind of sleep score I threw down yesterday. Did a big steam. Let's see, Wednesday, 29th. 92. Not bad. Oh, wait, no, that's not. Last night, 91. Okay. All right. Yeah, if you guys have a few more questions, I love doing this. A lot of people here, so happy to answer. If not, maybe I'll get out of here in about 15 minutes. I just cut tons of holes in my ceiling in the living room to run a bunch of cables for projector. So today I'm mudding and I'm painting. Any car updates? Still have the i3? Still have the i3. I love this car. It's the only car I've ever had that when people ride in it, they want to buy one. The Bentley, people kind of liked riding in it, but nobody said anything about it. Nobody ever wanted one. I still look at Bentleys every once in a while, but once you get used to an electric car, it's hard to go back. And I hate how new cars are like, I just hate how new cars are all plastic on the inside. So there aren't any new cars that really appeal to me. I guess I don't really need a new car. I'll tell you, my dream car, Todd and I were just talking about this yesterday, would be a minivan that is full electric, but still had all the seats that could fold down so you could put a 4x8 sheet of plywood in there. That is the absolute dream. That I would get rid of the i3 for that. So that way I don't have to have a van and an i3. Let's see. What sleep app? So I use Whythings sleep app. I don't know why I try to show things on the screen because they never actually look that good. But anyway, shows your graph. And what's cool about this one is you don't have to wear anything. It's this pad that goes under your mattress. And I have a super thick mattress, and I'm shocked it works through it. But it can read your heartbeat through it. It can tell if you're sleeping with incredible accuracy. Like my friend Todd was staying here last night. I kind of heard him wake up early for his flight, and you can see on my graph where I woke up because I heard him making noise, and then I went back to sleep. So it's very, very accurate. You don't have to wear anything. You don't have to charge anything. So yeah, I recommend it. What 3D printer are you running? Tempted to upgrade to a Bamboo printer? Absolutely upgrade to a Bamboo printer. I have a Bamboo P1P. I upgraded from a Prusa Mark III. And here's the weird thing. I sold the Prusa Mark III for like $100 less than I bought the Bamboo for, because the people buying it have a print farm, and print farm people want Prusas because they're just so standard and easy to fix. The Bamboo is so fast, it's unbelievable. It has a sort of annoying 5-minute warm-up period where it like does all this sensing, but after that it prints so fast that you'll laugh the first few times you see it. Like it can print this, which is actually a fairly complex thing. It has supports and like a cavity you really can't see. You can kind of see there underneath. It's got some little pieces here. It's got like some steps, screw holes, like, you know, not insignificant. Prints this in like 45 minutes, including the whole wind-up period. It would be a couple hours on Prusa. So I found that these little things, like these little black fronts for this, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. So, for something like this, I had to do so many iterations to get it perfectly centered, to get it to snap on properly. And when you can just print it out, 15 minutes later, your part's done, you can iterate so much more in a day. It was absolutely worth upgrading. I wish I had the AMS, the filament switcher, not because I would necessarily print dual filament, but because, although I might sometimes, but because I print PETG and PLA, and I usually print black and white of each, and I would love to have all 4 of those combos and have it choose. Honestly, can't say enough good things. God, what is up with this video? Video died again. I'm trying to fix the video. Let's see. Test. It's a weird one, man. Anyway, yeah. Did you see the F1 race in Vegas? No. I left the morning of qualifiers. I could have gone to see the practices, and I almost did. I have like no real interest in F1, but I've been dealing with the traffic because unfortunately it affects the roads near hockey, where I park for hockey. And so sometimes I'd get stuck in that. And then when we went to the Sphere, I was like, I've been dealing with all this stupid traffic. Let me at least go see this thing. Almost bought tickets. They were like $300. I was right on the fence. And then my wife ended up coming home that night, and I was like, well, she probably doesn't want to go. I'll just stay in. That was the night when they hit the pothole. I would have paid $300 to see 8 minutes of practice. So glad I didn't. I don't know. I was pretty pro F1. It really was pretty inconvenient for people who lived here. And then, I don't know, it just felt like they were kind of dicks to everybody in the city, where they tried to hide any possible free view you could have. They made this big deal about selling cheap tickets to locals, but then it turns out it was like practice tickets, and they weren't even that cheap. So we'll see. They still have some temporary bridges up, which I didn't know you could even build. So we'll see. I think I'm going to reserve judgment until I see next year before I have an opinion on whether or not it's good for the city. Yeah. All right, guys. Any more questions? Anything else I can ramble about? Are we done? Oh, that's a good question. All right, let me just get my tea going. I think I'm maybe going to do 2 or 3 more questions. If you get some in, I can answer them in a row. And then it's off to home projects. All right. Good one here. Do you ever find yourself doom scrolling on Reddit, Twitter, or other social media? Do you have any rules around social media for yourself? sort of do. So I follow almost nobody on any of these things. I think like I only follow people I know for the most part. I think I follow a couple artists I like. I follow a couple food places I go to, but I guess I know those people. And a bunch of tea places and friends. So to me, it's, I don't know, like I've just never really had a problem. That's not totally true. Social media, I don't accept most friend requests, only people I really like hang out with a lot. So it's mostly stuff I want to see. The groups I'm in are groups I care about. On Instagram, it's the same thing. It's just kind of friends. And I like to see what my friends are up to. Twitter, I basically only follow this one guy who writes about the Golden Knights so that during games I can see what he thinks to try to learn. So no problem at all with social media. I check them all throughout the day, but every time it's 1 second, whatever. I look at Reddit and Hacker News. I was pretty aggressive about Reddit, about unsubscribing from all the stupid, like funny, which aren't really funny, and anything with pets involved. And then I've subscribed to like T and Home Assistant and a few things like that. Shoot, I'm overbrewing this. I'd say that sometimes I do get into a loop. I don't know if this is what doom scrolling is, where I'm like Reddit, Hacker News. Oh, I check deal sites, Slick Deals, and Ben's Bargains. And then Facebook, maybe. Twitter doesn't update enough unless it's a game. So I probably just check those 5. But things, each one's like 2 seconds. And so if I get to one twice in a short period of time, like if I'm like, wait, I was just on Reddit, I've seen all these. To me, that's such a clear signal that I need to go do something else. So yeah, for me, it's just not really a problem. I think the key is just to like really curate what you follow and make sure it's going to be stuff that's like productive or positive and doesn't post often. It's sort of like, oh boy, I just overfilled this. I love Slick Deals. I don't know, man. I mean, I think there's like an argument that I shouldn't care so much about deals anymore, but I don't know. I love a good deal. It's fun. Just got some 3D printer filament for half price, $10 a roll. And with the amount I print these days, I'm still not saving any significant amount of money, but sometimes a bamboo printer tells you how much it costs you to print whatever you're about to print. And I'm like, oh, do I really care 75 cents to have this thing? But now 37 cents. Come on. Yeah. Have I gotten any good deals recently? What did I get? Oh yeah, this is kind of an interesting one. I got T-Mobile had a Black Friday deal. I'll tell you the thing about Black Friday. The time when I think the most about stuff I need to buy, or I come up with the most things I need to buy, is like 3 days after Black Friday. On Black Friday, I'm like, what am I thinking about that I should check the price of? Can never think of anything. And then a few days later, I find stuff. Oh yeah, so T-Mobile had a deal, $30 a month, might still be going on, for their home internet service, and you get a free 50-inch TV. My wife is going to freak out because I have so many screens in this house from like old monitors, and then I bought a bunch for the pinball machine that I ended up not using. So I don't know if she knows yet that there's about to be another TV in this house somewhere. But free 50-inch TV, not bad. If I wasn't too lazy, maybe I'd sell it. Let's see. Any alternatives to printables in Thingiverse? On the rare occasion I can't find anything, I just search Google, and then there are some other random ones that sometimes have some. But 90% of what I make is stuff, I print is stuff I make myself. And then every once in a while, like, what do I print? What did I just print? I just printed something from one of those. Oh, it was a really cool thing. Of these printer jacks that, or not printer jacks, pinball jacks. That was very cool. It was like hard plastic, but then you print with TPU, a flexible one for like a cushion. And basically when you're working on your pinball machine, it lifts up the back so you can get to the hole underneath. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I printed those out recently. Mostly I make my own things. I had a real victory the other day, by the way. I have, our guest bathroom has It's like the old style shower taps where it's like hot, cold, and then the mixer, right? Or like shower or bath. And the thing drives my wife bananas, drives me slightly less, but still fairly bananas. And it just kept dripping more and more and more. So I watched some videos about how to replace these things. And then the one I found, the woman who was doing the video actually repairs them. And I thought, well, probably I could repair it too. So I took it out, and it seemed like what was dead was this rubber washer. But it wasn't just like a disc washer. It was sort of like, this is obviously a blown up version, but it was like down, in, to kind of seat into this brass piece. And then it had a circle in the middle, obviously. It takes 2 seconds to design that yourself. So I printed it in TPU, which is this rubber-like material. Totally solved it. Think about that. I mean, otherwise I would have had to like make an appointment with a shower guy, and then he's going to fix it, and he's going to tell me I need to replace everything. 3D print a little washer. That blew my mind. So that was a good victory. I've been using recently, maybe you use this too, a site called onshape.com. I was very skeptical that there could be an in-browser 3D modeling software that would be good. It's way better than FreeCAD, which is what I was using before. Way, way, way better. I think it's as good, or maybe like similar to, maybe better than, what's the one everybody uses? SolidWorks or Shapeways? No, SolidWorks? Autodesk something? I feel like I'm not coming up with it. Anyway, seems to be basically state of the art. I really enjoy using it. And it auto saves, thank God, because I've lost so many things in FreeCAD when the auto save wasn't great. Any recs for Vegas apartment complexes or neighborhoods that are good value for those that are thinking of moving here? I think there's really arguments to be made for a lot of them. Let me give you some examples. So all the way out in Summerlin. So I'll do the farther south ones first, and I'll kind of move in. Summerlin is the most beautiful place in Vegas, I think. You're right near the Red Rock National Park. Everything is beautifully manicured. The neighborhoods are beautiful. They have like their own Whole Foods. Their parks are great. It's really, really nice. I think if that's like, if you're like, I want to live in like idyllic suburbs, but not be ripped off, and I want access to nature, that's the place to be. It's the closest to the ski place. It's the closest to Red Rock. I believe it's probably one of the closer ones to Utah. You can get to Utah very easily from Vegas. So that's a cool one. And it's just like, there's no crime. It's beautiful. The other big suburb is Henderson, which is closer to it. So Summerlin is west. Henderson is east/southeast. So it's really close to Lake Mead. So if you're a lake guy, you can be really close to there. It's also much closer to the airport if you travel a lot in Summerlin. It's also a little more varied. It has some really, really upscale, nice places, like Green Valley is one. It also has some, like, they call it Hendertucky, where it's sort of like redneck, but maybe like might be better values there. If you get closer in on the west side, that's sort of almost like more generic housing, like those sort of like cookie cutter apartment complexes, but they're all pretty nice because just yesterday we were over there. My buddy was buying a dresser, and you look from the outside and you're like, this is just like such a generic place. But then you're like, well, I don't know. They got a dog park. They have a nice looking pool. Like, we went to this girl's apartment to take this dresser out. I'm like, this place is pretty nice. And there's a lot of development going on over there. So there's really good restaurants going up in the Southwest now. It's West, Southwest. So that there's a new fancy casino called Durango going up there. So there's like nice things happening. The West Side is also where Chinatown is. So a little closer to the Strip, or very close to the Strip, sort of right west of the Strip, there's certain neighborhoods, Scotch 80s is one of them, that are really close to Chinatown, which is where a lot of the incredible food of Vegas is. And it has a good vibe there. I really like Chinatown. So that's a good area. You can go north. Downtown, I think, is probably one of the best areas to go right now. Some really cool houses. It's sort of right on the edge of gentrification, where there's like neighborhoods that are really nice places with some character, but also some dumps. but they're all kind of becoming nice. Downtown has a lot of incredible food. It's the most walkable place by far. It's where the Symphony Hall is. So I like downtown a lot. East Side is also very good. East Side is maybe a little on the grittier side, but with some nice pockets, some interesting houses, really good access to the airport, to the Strip, easy to go over to the West Side. If you go a little further east, there's something called Wetlands Park, which is a really, really cool park. Let's see, what other areas? Those are kind of the main areas. So I think think about which of those sounded the best to you and look in that. But honestly, I think Vegas is pretty cool in that all these different areas offer really good value for, I mean, look, maybe you're the kind of guy who wants to live in the Mandarin Oriental, the super polished, full service condo on the Strip. Doesn't sound that great to me, but you could. And it would be a quarter the price it would be in New York or Miami, right? So there's kind of a good value and a good payoff at all these places. So I've just, that's sort of a rundown. You can see which one sounds good for you. All right, one more. I think that's about it. I always think these are going to be an hour, but I really enjoy doing them. So it's been an hour 45. And I appreciate a lot of people showed up today. Are there any things that make you really excited about the future of humanity? Everything makes me excited about the future of humanity. There's good things happening. There's bad things happening. And I think the truth is that the good always outweighs the bad in the long run. But if you really focus on the negative, which is what the media does, it's what a lot of people online do, and it's easy to do. I don't blame anybody for doing that. It's the most easy path to follow. It's really easy to think that the world is going bad places, but I don't think it is. I think people are fundamentally mostly good. I think humanity has so far been an overwhelmingly positive force, at least for ourselves. And I think there's just a lot of smart people working on interesting stuff. And I think the tools for doing that are better than ever. There's more access to information, 3D printers. It's you can make circuits yourself. Crypto, I don't know. Even some of the chaos of the economy being in maybe bad shape in certain ways. It's but those are often the catalysts for positive change. So, even some of the ecological stuff, which maybe is more concerning than other problems we have, it's yeah, but there's a fire under us, and I think we do solve problems. So I'm really optimistic about society, about humanity. I love this world. I think things are good. I don't know. What can I say? I think we have problems too, and I hope we can solve them, and I think we have smart people working on them. But yeah, overall great. By the way, is anybody else drinking tea? I feel like usually people tell me when they're drinking tea. Today, nobody told me. It's unusual. Maybe Sunday's more of a tea day. Maybe more people drink tea on Sundays. I don't know. All right, guys. I think that's it for today. Thank you all so much for showing up. I appreciate it. When a lot of people show up like this, it makes me want to do them more. Emma, what are you drinking? Tell me before we go. I really enjoy doing these. Really enjoy all your questions. Appreciate it. I feel like there are a lot of well thought out questions, and even just seeing you guys chat in the chat thing, I really appreciate that too. So thanks for reading. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining. Yogi Tea Christmas edition. Oh, no. Breaks my heart. Emma, we need to drink real tea. Let me look up what that is. I bet that's one of those peppermint stick things. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Westlake Long Gin. I'm putting that up on the screen. Westlake Long Gin. That's a good one. Yogi Tea Christmas edition. Sorry, you've been a great contributor to this thing, and now I'm about to blast you on this thing. That's not very nice. Let's see. Oh, all right. It's not. All right. Honestly, it's not so bad. Not so bad. All right. That's good. That's why I didn't say anything. Honestly, it's not bad. I like it's a rooibos tea with some stuff in it, but it's all right. Not so bad. I would drink that at night, maybe. Let's put it that way. All right, guys. Oh, hold on. Red wine. Yeah, passport that's even worse than the yogi tea for sure. I appreciate you joining anyway, though. Look, I'm trying to be accepting of everybody. All right, guys. Thank you so much for showing up. Thanks for reading. Thanks for being here. Appreciate all of you. Been great to see you. Time to repair my ceiling. My wife was not happy about all the holes, so she's gone for a couple of days. Got to fix them. All right. See you guys.